Here today with Coach Nate Harrison, one of my football coaches. He's the man behind the camera, and we're here to talk about the novice window and later on develop a base level of strength. The novice window begins when they walk into our weight room. We see them and they look like little baby giraffes. They have very little coordination, very little strength development. We have no idea if they've spent any time under the bar, what training regimens they've done in the past, what they've done in middle school PE/weights/health class. So when we get them, we've got this novice window to develop off of. The first one that we have is the first 2 to 3 weeks. And this is intermuscular communication.
What was that again?
Oh, intermuscular coordination. This intermuscular coordination is different muscle groups working together in order to produce a movement. Like I said earlier, we have baby giraffes. When they get a bar and they have to do a certain bar path, be it bench, be it squat, anything really, they shake. They don't know how to deal with the stress. They don't know how to move their body in space. They don't know how to move their joints in space. So they have this really uncoordinated look to them through muscle groups. The next is going to be 4 to 6 weeks. This is going to be intramuscular. Intermuscular is different groups of muscles working together. Intramuscular coordination, we're going to talk about the actual coordination within the muscle fibers themselves. The first one we're going to talk about is recruitment, or their numbers of muscle motor units recruited. The more that they move that muscle, the more motor units that they can activate, and they can recruit those muscle fibers in bigger numbers. The next is going to be the rate at which they do it. So how fast can they recruit all of these muscle units? At first, it's going to be slow because they don't have that coordination. They don't know what they're doing in the movement. As they increase, that rate's going to increase, and then develop patterns. Can they coordinate the number and the rate at which and produce smooth movements? So we have recruitment, rate, and pattern encoding. For this time, both of these will be developing simultaneously, okay? When we go from this next window, which is going to be 6 to 12 weeks, we'll actually look at increasing the size of the muscles of these athletes. Here, any strength that we're seeing is because of the different coordination. They're learning this movement, they can apply more stress to that movement because they're more efficient at that movement, be it with muscles together or within the muscles themselves. When we get to the 6 to 12 weeks, we're looking at hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is going to happen in one of two ways. You're going to have myofibular or sarcoplasmic. Myofibular growth is the actual cross-section area of the different muscle fibers and the proteins, actin and myosin. Those are the contractile fibers within the muscle tissues. When we do work, we shred the actin and myosin fibers, and when they grow, they're going to increase cross-sectionally. So in the diameter of the actual fiber, they're going to increase that size so that the next time when they have repaired and that stress comes along, they're able to manage that stress, and then we'll add more stress to develop this again. The actual number of actin and myosin filaments can grow as well, but the cross-sectional size is going to be the main level of growth in this stage. Sarcoplasmic growth is everything that happens when we destroy these that spills out into the actual semi-fluid sarcoplasm around those muscle fibers. So while these are being destroyed and rebuilt, we've destroyed not only capillaries, but the muscle fibers themselves, and this cellular waste is increasing within the sarcoplasm, which is the cellular semi-liquid fluid that is around these two bodies. So this is going to increase the volume of the muscle because you're increasing the fluid around it. So you've got two types of growth with myofibular and sarcoplasmic. This is going to happen over the 6 to 12 weeks next. As this grows and as things start to develop, we're going to reach this final stage, which will be stagnation. Stagnation occurs when the level of force production that we're getting starts to slow down and decrease. So as they're developing, they're going to reach a point where the gains aren't as much, or the gains start to slow down. And we've reached the capacity of this novice window, so we're going to need to change one of two things. One, we're going to change neuromuscular stimulus or structural. Neuromuscularly or structurally, we're going to have to find different ways to add growth. Different movement patterns, different lifts, different weights, different combinations of weights. So now we have this novice window, we can go to our base level of strength, developing a strong and stable athlete who can effectively adapt to the demands placed upon them. We do that in Power Athlete by our linear progression, where we are constantly adding stress throughout all of these domains. So constantly sneaking weight onto the bar in our core lifts. We have bench, press, squat, clean, and deadlift. We will constantly increase every time they get under the bar per day by 5 pounds, by 2.5 pounds. Sorry, by 2.5 pounds, by 2.5 pounds, by 5 pounds, by 5 pounds, by 10 pounds. And as we drive that adaptation to this stress, we will find rep maxes built within this system. If you add enough stress, both physiologically and psychologically, at a point they will fail. Instead of trying to test them for this rep max, we will gradually make them work up to that rep max. This will happen through these phases and let us know when their novice window is starting to shrink down. Once we've gotten to that point, we've built a base level of strength for our athletes.